up, everybody, and welcome back to the Survivor Now podcast. As always, my name is Randy. I'll be your host this evening. Yes, I am actually hosting. I'm back after my spring break trip away. We have a special guest with us today, but before we get to our special guest, let's talk about the people who always join me here. First up, I've got the wonderful Will. Will, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
Did you miss me while I was away?
Not really.
Yeah, I figured. And we have from season 41, everybody's favorite castaway, Abraham. Abraham, my man, how are you doing today?
You know, no hosting duties, so I can't complain. And we about to get into some Survivor, man. You know what? I was kind of concerned if it was going to keep that momentum, but it's going down the train track.
Oh my God. Well said. Well said. And you did a fabulous job hosting. Thank you to Abraham and Josh for stepping up for me when I was away, enjoying my spring break. Will, you didn't host. Don't even put your
I didn't host, but I was there. I mean,
I appreciate you too, man. As always.
We was going to vote him off the podcast.
Let's get to our special guest this evening. We are honored to be joined by, in my mind, an absolute legend in the podcasting game. He runs the No Dunks podcast for the Athletic Network, also the No Buffs podcast, started the same time that we started up for season 41. Everybody, please help me welcome to the show, J.E. Skeets. I can call you Skeets, right? I wanted to say the full name.
Absolutely.
Mr. Skeets.
How many people call
simple.
you J.E.?
Almost nobody calls me JE. It's very weird, working at a big company where a lot of people just call me Skeets, right to my face, in emails, Slack, stuff like that. Yeah, I'm pumped to be here. Thanks for having me. I've also seen the guests you have lined up, like coming in the next couple of weeks, and I feel like it's a mistake I'm here, but
no, man, you're getting us started off hot. I've been looking forward to this. Now, I don't know about Will, but before we get into the episode, I want to do a little crossover here because I know I said he's from the No Dunks podcast for the Athletic. They cover the NBA. And we've got two NBA fans here. We've got Abraham, who is a Spurs fan. I'm so sorry. You guys might get Wimbayama, or I always say his name wrong, but you're in the running for him. And I'm a Pacers fan, and we've got Tyrese, but it's probably going to be another year till we'll do anything. So I have to ask, out of modern day NBA players, who is someone in the league that we think could go out on Survivor right now and compete and do really good at it? Because I've been thinking about this. Let me just say, I'll go first because I'll give you a couple seconds to think. I think I'm going to go style points. I think Kyle Kuzma would do incredible on Survivor. I think he'd be the best dressed for sure. He's got that swag. He's got that attitude. I want Kuzma on Survivor.
We're going to be dirty. Survivor's dirty. I mean, where's he going to dress up at?
I mean, he's going
to wear his giant pink sweater out there. Yeah, it's going to get wet. It's going to be wrapped around him. It's going to be
unique. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. What about you, Skeets? I know you're the expert here.
Okay, so Kyle Kuzma is not a bad pick because at least Kyle Kuzma is not like a superstar. Like it can't be obviously someone that is like a celebrity or that recognizable or somebody that makes $250 million. Like their ass is going to be voted out right away. So I'm going to go, my gut reaction, I'm going to go with Josh Hart on the New York Knicks.
Okay.
Who is obviously, a lesser known player to like casual people, but he's still a good player. He's in the NBA, so he's one of the best in the world. But not super tall. Like I feel like you don't want to stick out that much. Rest in peace, Cliff Robinson. But like Josh Hart's like 6'3", 6'4", so a tall guy, but it's going to be super athletic. That's
he would kill it at the challenges. Are we nervous about a social game if he went on?
No, I think he's super likable in the league. That's a big reason why I'm picking him. I think he'd fit right in. I don't think he'd be like, he wouldn't like have that air of like, I'm too cool for this, or like I am like the superstar. He'd be like Brandon. I like the vibes I'm getting from him, to be honest. So Josh Hart.
I mean, we're pitching it. Josh Hart for Survivor 47. That is a little news thing that I don't know if anyone else here saw it. The CBS casting site jumped straight from season 45, casting for that season, to season 47. They just completely skipped over season 46, which maybe is saying we might get a returnee season for season 46. We've been waiting.
Tell me to come back. Tell me to return.
Abraham, they haven't called you yet. We're still waiting.
You can't say.
Got a phone right here, guy. Oh, if they call me, I'll tell you, Will.
Well,
thank you.
If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like the video. If you're listening to us on Spotify, give us a rating. We really do appreciate it. Now, let's get into this exciting episode. Abraham, you said something last week that I really loved, and it was basically season 41, 42, and 43 ran. So season 44, or sorry, they walked. I messed it up. They walked. So season 44 could run. And this season has been full steam ahead at the moment. And let's get right into that eventful tribal council, right? Claire is a big time player. Abraham, you and myself had the honor to meet Claire last year in New York. We had big expectations for her. I think in our predictions, we had her going pretty far into the game. What went wrong for Claire tonight? And Abraham, I'll start with you. I mean, it looks like her social game was there. And the next thing we know, she's on the chopping block because of her physical game wasn't there.
Here's the thing about it is, it only takes a little bit to try to nudge somebody right or left. And when you're out there, you don't eat, you're hungry, and you're around people 24/7, you're talking about the same thing. So I like when she volunteered to sit out the first challenge, but when you got to the third challenge, you kind of took it too far. You kind of got to sit back and say, I got to show what I got so people want to keep me, because Claire can play, but you got to show people that you can play. So now you kind of move that needle over to somebody else. And Claire was like, every challenge, she was like, no, I'll sit out. Because I know back before, if you set out the first challenge, you couldn't set out the next challenge.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a different season where I guess if you don't want to play, we're trying to.
Well, they cleared that up. So they said the rule was always you can't sit out back to back in an episode. So you can sit out back to back challenges as long as it's not in the same episode.
But they should change that.
They should, because I think Claire definitely should have competed. I was looking at some of the stats during the episode, so I missed a little bit because I'm like, she's got to be getting close to the record here for the most sit outs in a single season. She sat out 3 times. The record is 7, held by 2 people from Survivor Palau. So Skeets, I mean, Claire here, was there any reason for her to sit out? That was my biggest question, because she's not a lady in her like 60s or a man in his 80s who is like the outright weakest person on the tribe.
That's the part that I could not figure out, which is why I was like convinced that she was like going galaxy brain on everybody. Like, just like, well, they won't look at me if I don't screw up a puzzle or like can't get a key off a thing. She would have been completely fine, I think, in a majority of these challenges. Like, you would blend in easily enough, right? You may not be the most athletic on your tribe, but like if you're the 3rd, 4th, 5th, like you're just like pulling your own weight, I think she would have totally been okay and wouldn't have got the blame. And like, yeah, like Abraham said, is like by the time she did it for the 3rd time in a row, it was all just like, it's just an easy target. It's just like, we are looking for anyone. We need any excuse because we're finally going to tribal council. So we need to go, well, who's it going to be? It's either going to be this power couple that are falling in love. Okay, eyes are on them.
We'll get to them.
Or it was going to be like this person that comes back, not even dirty. I think Franny said, in wisely pointing out, like she's like not even sweating because she hasn't even tried. I'm disappointed because this was my pick to win it.
No.
Yeah, I loved her. And I actually think her gameplay is incredible. Like, I love how blunt she was with people. We saw that talk. I even sort of like how she talked with Heidi, heading in, obviously, to tribal council. Like, she's just so matter of fact, and I think it's sort of refreshing. But she should have just played, and I think she'd still be here. She should have tried.
We saw her do the first. We saw her do the first cross tribal talk at the episode 1.
Yeah, she had all the makings to play a really good game. She had that one big flaw, which is not the best at challenges, but she just overplayed, just not going to. Because again, even if she messed up catastrophically and like was the sole reason why their tribe went to tribal, she could still outmaneuver that, because there's still the excuse where she tried her best. Being weak at challenges isn't really the prime reason to vote people out in this era of Survivor. But Claire didn't even give that, like people would rather have, someone who is like only like a little good than someone who does nothing. And Claire did nothing in challenges.
The thing is she wasn't even being told to sit out the challenges. It was, like you said, Skeets, like completely avoidable, because she would just raise her hand and instantly be like, I'll sit, whatever. I don't know if she's like trying to please people. The crazy thing is Survivor has been going on for 44 seasons now, and she is the first castaway ever to be, well, no, I don't want to say this because there were castaways voted out before they even got to the first immunity challenge. But if you look at people who had the chance to participate in an immunity challenge, she's got to be up there for possibly the first castaway ever to never compete on an immunity challenge, especially get this far into the game. And just knowing Claire Abraham, like when we met her, it would never say in a million years that she would be someone who just sits out of the challenges.
I would tell you this: don't go look at Claire's Instagram page because Claire is a beast. So physically, mentally, she could play the game, but you only get a split second to make a decision on Survivor. And with the smaller tribes, that first time at Tribal Council sets the tone for the entire game, because now you're trying to see if we're going to vote together. Oh, can I trust you? Now they're going back to saying, well, we all voted together, so we can trust that we all voted out Claire. And going to Tribal Council is a must. So you can kind of get the feel of it, see what's going to happen. But I would have broke up the Lovebirds.
I mean,
it would have been gone.
I'm shocked that they didn't focus on the Lovebirds a little bit more. But I do want to talk about the fact that we had a very crazy Tribal Council. Again, I feel like every Tribal Council thus far has been really exciting going in. And we saw that Claire had this kind of relationship with Heidi as people are talking about who to vote out of the Soka tribe. And Heidi was kind of stuck in the middle. Does she go with Josh and Danny to vote out to vote out Claire and keep the tribe strong? Or does she go with Franny and Claire to vote out Josh, someone that apparently nobody trusts? And Fishback posted this on Twitter and said, everyone is saying that he is shady and can't be trusted, when we literally see a confessional where Josh is like, I just want to go with the flow. I just want to do whatever everyone else is doing. And then obviously Matt didn't have his vote, and he doesn't have it for the next two tribals, which we will talk a lot about him and how unlucky he is later in the show. But was anyone else shocked that Heidi decided to stay with Danny? Because it was that dilemma, and Skeets, I'll go to you first here. It was that dilemma of she had a better relationship with Claire than she does with Josh. She basically put it out there. I have not talked to Josh at all about gameplay. But the other flip side of that is when comparing Franny to Danny, she thinks Danny is her number one ally. And obviously Danny wanted to keep Josh in the game. So did Heidi make the right choice here?
I mean, no, she didn't, because I had Claire as my winning pick. So no, she absolutely didn't.
She screwed you over,
Yeah, no, I think there was a fascinating little clip in this where we had Heidi, Franny, and Danny talking at the water well and trying to figure out where they were going. Josh, or are they going Claire? And the fact that she's not playing at all. And I thought that three, I was like, ooh, and they were like, you know, it didn't seem like they were trying to hide their cards too much, like not keep them too close to the vest. Like this, like there's something there. Like, I guess what I'm getting at is Franny did impress me, how she sort of played this and her compelling arguments of like where this vote should go for the first time going to Tribal Council. Yeah, we'll see. I guess I was shocked. Abraham said it. It's like, why wasn't the focus on the Lovebirds? It's perplexing, but in a weird way, Claire, she just dug her own grave by not playing. I think if she plays in one of these and just competes, I don't think we're having this conversation.
Even if she throws it.
Yeah.
I mean, another shot in the dark play as well. Will, this is becoming a thing now where production has to look at this. Something's got to change. Either the odds have to be better, they have to change it completely, and maybe you actually roll a die and there's like two sides where you're safe, something like that, or just scratch it completely, because we've seen it work once. It didn't really have an impact. And yes, we've seen it used by the other Matt on the Ratu tribe as like a strategy thing, and he got into that this episode. But here's another person using it, kind of just throwing their vote away, and it kind of makes, to me, it kind of makes the vote off in the Tribal Council a little less eventful.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did anybody see the shot in the dark?
No.
Did you see what have you seen what it is?
Well, it's a dice. It's a little dice.
Yeah.
You just drop it in and you draw a
Did you
paper.
see it? I mean, there is no, it doesn't add anything. It just adds giving away your vote. And here's the thing about it is, when it was introduced in 41, we looked at the shot in the dark and we had two people play it. Nobody else even knew where the shot in the dark was at. It was in their bag somewhere. 42 and 43, 44, we've seen more people play the shot in the dark in different manners. I kind of still say the one that was played early was too early, but it just doesn't have that pop that I think they wanted. So I said, get that shit out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, Will, are you full agreement with Abraham here? It's just time to scratch this, because once she played that, I don't know, for me personally, once she played that, that told me that she was going home. Like I was on the edge of my seat. I'm like, ooh, where did Heidi go? And once Claire played it, I'm like, okay, obviously she wouldn't have played it if she felt really confident that Heidi was on her side. So there had to be something where she knew Heidi did not vote with her.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but except for Jamie, every time someone has played the shot in the dark, they have been voted out, right?
Oh yeah.
Not Matt. Yeah, Matt played it.
And Matt, yeah. Except so episode 1, but that's a different beast because Matt didn't play it because he wanted to be saved.
Yeah.
Anyone who's played it to save themselves has been voted out. And which is crazy because at this point, like, as I was on edge the entire time until Claire like played that shot in the dark and then she wasn't safe. That's when I knew she was going home. I think the idea of the shot in the dark does work, where it's like you want that little bit of, last ditch effort, but I think they need to tweak it. I think instead of making it so everyone has it always, maybe make it something where you have to earn it, but then the odds of, being safe are a lot higher. Right. So you have to like do this, but then you have a 50% chance of being saved, but a 50% chance of losing your vote, or making it more extreme where you lose, your next 2 votes, but you can be safe or like, whatever. I think having that is a lot better and it makes it more compelling and like something to play around than just a 1 in 6 chance, because again, it kind of just ruins tribal council. Not ruin, but like,
no, it's just, it's so lame when Probst just unscrolls this little piece of parchment paper that says not safe. It's just Abraham said it. It just goes like tribal council just goes, ugh.
Yeah.
And it's like
perfectly said.
Okay. And I will say like the concept is cool because I like what it's added to the game of like, now we have to try and blindside everybody because we don't want them to take this chance of playing the shot in the dark. That makes sense. But what's happened is, and you guys said it, the odds are so against them still with this 1 in 6 chance. They're not that great of odds that people are like, you know what? I guess we'll sort of hope to like blindside them a little bit, but if they play it because they probably won't hit it.
I've been thinking about, let me throw this out there. I've been thinking about this and I don't want to spend too long on this because I'm sure we've all had our complaints over the podcast about the shot in the dark. Every time it's played, we complain about it. But here's a new idea that I thought of. Maybe you actually make it a challenge. Give them something to do. Like maybe actually make it a shot of something. Like give them like one of the mechanisms they used in Old Survivor. Exactly. You get a 1 dart throw, and if you can hit the middle, you're safe.
Build a
something
fire
like
against
that.
Gabler.
Or maybe make it to where everyone sells a shot in the dark, but if you play it, maybe you choose 2 castaways to go up against in a challenge, 2-on-1. You beat those 2, you've earned your way, to be safe or something like that. Just make it more eventful than what you said, Skeets, which is basically, okay, let's just draw a 1 in 6 chance, which is rarely ever going to hit. Not only is it ever going to hit, basically, what are the odds it hits when you need it to hit is what I'm trying to get at. So it makes it uneventful. And Abraham, you got one last thing to add on to this?
Let's don't leave production with nothing to hold on to. I do like the birdcage.
Well, that's where you're stealing my thunder. That's where we're getting next. You know me too well at this point. So I was going to say, we're all going to miss Claire. It sucks to see her go. And this is such a likable cast. So like, it sucks to see like anyone go from this cast at the moment, but going from one advantage, which needs to be scrapped, to another, which is just providing so much entertainment. Go ahead, Abraham. Say it again, because you want.
I love the birdcage because the birdcage adds so much level to the game. You got the first part where you got to find the key. Then, if you find the key, when you go into the bag, you got 2 choices. You can take the parchment, take the idol, and take the fake idol, or keep the parchment and the idol and put the fake idol back in, like the birdcage, and put the key back somewhere else. There's so many different ways you can play the birdcage to your advantage. You can go with somebody and walk through the woods and be like, is that something over there? Oh, yeah, that's the key. And let them get the key and think they have an idol.
You could throw the key in the ocean.
Well, I was going to say, Will, you mentioned last week throwing the key in the ocean. Skeets, on your guys' show last week, yeah, you and JD were talking about, do you re-hide the key, or do you just keep it and then no one can find it? There's so many options to play, and I think
Hold on, Skeets, what you doing?
What are you
What you gonna do with the key?
Oh, I am doing absolutely what Danny did tonight, and
you're gonna eat the paper.
I'm going to eat the paper. Like
You're not gonna throw it in the ocean.
I think you should leave, and I'm putting the real "this is an idol" parchment with the fake idol that they gave me. Thank you very much. I put that back in the bag. I put that back in the cage. I hide the key, and then I lead whoever I want to find the key and say, "Oh, you found the key." And Danny played it perfectly because then he knows Matt found it. He called him out on it. He had Josh in.
He was helping him find it.
I think Danny had an incredible episode.
Danny helped him find it. Everybody's looking for it. And Danny goes, man, these people can't find anything. And I loved how he starts going, and no one even caught this, because obviously it's easy when we're watching from the couch. But instantly I was like, no one notices that, hey, this guy knows where to look or whatever. Because he was literally like, I think you guys should dig underneath here. Like in these spots. Will, you said you had a question real fast.
So with the birdcage, is it worth it to just take the bag and then never put it back? Because think of the amount of paranoia that would cause, right? That would cause. We saw that a little bit with the Tika tribe, where
Carolyn.
Yeah, Carolyn.
Well, she put it back, but didn't tie it.
But didn't put it back properly. But can you imagine if someone just took the bag, shut the cage, never put it back? Because everyone knows that the bag's been found. Everyone, it's obvious, right? And so it'll cause this huge shift in paranoia. Like, does that have merit in y'all's view, or is it worth it to just throw the key in the ocean?
Well, I will say, I think Danny played it perfectly, like Skeet said. Abraham, you have a differing opinion? Everybody back?
He did, 100%.
It's a level of the game. So adding to another level of the game, guess what? It makes it so much interesting to see how a player is going to play. With the shot in the dark, it's like, I might not make it.
And plus, the birdcage needs skill, right? Like, what's his name? Danny needed to be sneaky and put it back perfectly, because we saw what happened when Carolyn was a little reckless,
Yep.
And I think that's also a lot more compelling than the shot in the dark, because the shot in the dark, it's just you roll a die and that's it. There's nothing, as what Randy said, it'd be a lot better if there was a challenge or something that would make it a little more compelling.
And I also want to talk about, this has been an ongoing conversation for years now. Does Survivor have too many advantages? Does it count if technically they're not advantages? Because right now, I wrote these numbers down earlier when I was watching the show. For those who are counting at home, there are 4 real idols that have been found right now. There are 3 in play. 1 has been played. And we saw Matt from Ratu find another one tonight. There are 3 fake idols that have been planted by production. There's 1 fake idol that was made by a player. And there's 2 fake idols in play right now. Are you as confused as I am saying that? Because we haven't even talked about the 2 other advantages that are in play. Sarah has an advantage, which I've already forgot what it is.
Inheritance.
The inheritance advantage, yes. And then who is the other one who has?
Lauren with the extra vote.
Thank you. Lauren has the extra vote. See, even I forgot. And I'm someone who I would always say every year when someone's like, there's too many advantages now. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I can keep up with it. But now I'm getting to the point where I can't even keep up with it because they all look the same. Because I remember when Jamie found the fake idol that Matt made, I was like, well, that just looks like, did they just re-hide the fake idol? And then we saw that flashback, obviously. So I'll let someone take the floor here on this. Are there too many now? Too many fake and real advantages in the game? Because we are on day 7, episode 3, and there are at least 10 advantages / non-advantages in the game.
I mean, the answer is yes, I think there is, but also no, because when you just went through all that, I'm laughing to myself at the chaos that is going to ensue. Because look at Matt right now, with Matt and Franny, not Matthew, but Matt. He found, this guy thinks I found the key. I opened the birdcage. Within that bag is literally a thing that appears to be a legit idol with the parchment paper that says this is an idol. That guy is 100%, and I can't blame him, convinced that it's real.
Oh, yeah.
But Danny put it there. with the fake one.
And he's gonna have an argument when he tries to play that, and Jeff Probst is like, "This is not an idol," and he's gonna be like, "Are you insane? Yes, it is. Do you want me to pull this out right now?"
It's almost. I almost wonder if production has gone too far. Like as much as I love the birdcage, like that is crazy. Like it's one thing to go out of your way, get crafty like Matthew, and make a fake idol and plant it and all that, but like. Again, Matthew just thinks this is real. This has been in there the entire time. His mind is going to explode.
Let me add this into the mix. So I don't understand how there's usually nobody by themselves in the camp. Because the water well is a nice little walk, but the mailbox is a nice little walk because you're using some of the same beaches because you can kind of tell the distance. But usually there's nobody in there that long because everybody else is paranoid. They don't want to leave anybody by themselves for that long. That's why I think the bird cage, it works out because now you still got to get into it. You still got to take it. You still got to get it back. So, but it gives you so many options. I just like the way that it's going to depend on the player. Danny is playing it way differently than Carol Ann is playing hers. So we're seeing different players. Now, to what you're saying, Randy, there's a lot of stuff going on. But the game is outwit.
I mean,
you gotta have that stuff to outwit.
One thing I do like about the birdcage fake idols, and I completely forgot about this. I think I saw this on Twitter or Reddit or something, where like the 3 idols are all like different like shapes, I guess, or like different things, and then the fake idols are one of the other shapes from the other tribes, right?
Yeah.
So it's like when the merge happens, there's gonna be like 2 idols of the same shape, one being real, one being fake, 2, 2, and 2. And that's just going to be extremely messy going to the merge. And
so who has the real version of Matt's fake silver coin? Who has that right now?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because you're right, Will. If they both make a merge and maybe they work together or they don't, and maybe that comes out.
Carolyn, she has the silver coin.
Carolyn.
Didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, I had to think about it. So Carolyn has the silver coin. The real one, Maddie or whatever from the Soka tribe. Yes,
Soka,
thank you. Yeah. He's got the fake one, and then you have the beads out there, which is just as confusing because I'm pretty sure that Danny's beads are real. Matt from Ratu, his beads are real. And then he also made a fake. I guess they just had the same beads that they use laying around camp because it looks just the same.
Yeah.
And made a fake one for Jamie.
Well, so this is where production just got. Come on, production. You could have gave us some difference in everything. They didn't all have to look alike.
But that's going to make it exciting because you're going to have that
merge
argument.
Comes.
I mean, just imagine the merge comes and you have this scenario where Matt from Soka plays the idol. And Probe says it's not an idol. He says, yes, it is. And maybe he's working with Danny at the time. And Danny's looking in his, not Danny. Carolyn's working with him at the time, maybe. She looks in, she sees her idol, and then she starts wondering, well, is mine fake too?
Yeah, that's what I think might happen here.
Well, no, she should have read the parchment. So the people that have real idol should know the real idol. But I can see where the confusion starts to come in. It's going to be. I think when we get to the merge, it's going to be a wild ride because we got so much stuff. I still don't understand that inheritance deal. I don't really know how that works. So we're going to have to see how that's being played. But I think the way that this season for episode 3,
episode 3, day 7.
Look, I hate to say it, but it's looking way better than the previous episodes.
Oh, well, I mean, so Danny is up there for playing one of the better games right now, but we do have to talk a little bit about Matthew from Ratu as well, because he did have that big play where at first I wrote in my notes, I'm like, wow, Jamie just found an idol. And then they do this like flashback deal where Matthew's like, nah, I found that 2 days ago. And I'm like, what? Okay, that would have been nice to know. So do we like this whole production before I actually get into the gameplay? Do we like the production side of things with doing these flashbacks? Because at first, I'm like, okay, it's cute. Like, it's cool and all. You're keeping us on our toes. But this one just came out of left field. I think I much would have rather seen him hide it initially.
I didn't mind it because, and here's why. Because that scene, that whole Ratu sort of day 6 scene started with everybody eating earthworms. There
How
was
to
so
eat fried
much
worms, yes.
eating worm talk, and Jamie was super pumped. She's going to eat these worms. Oh, you should try them. Let's do it. Oh, there's so much protein, blah, 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 blah. And then the payoff was her telling us how she's bonding with Matthew. They love nature. He's the plant daddy. She's the plant mommy, I think.
Where did that come from? I
Plant
saw
lady.
that.
Yeah, that was a little weird. But then they're at the water well. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he says, "Oh, that's a nice little mud pit there. There must be some good worms in there." And that's when I was like, that is the strangest thing I've ever heard. Like, that's some dirt. There must be good worms in there. Like, I got an idea there's worms all around this island. Okay.
Yeah.
And that particular spot is just.
Yes. And then what happens? She's like, for some reason, like, well, you are the plant daddy. I guess I should go digging for worms. And as she's down on her knees, about to dig for worms to eat, okay, that is strange, sees the planted, which is what we learned right after that because of the flashback. We see the planted fake idol that Matthew's already found and wisely put at the water well, and now she has it. But he's also like tight with her, so it's a really weird scenario that he has what appears to be sort of an alliance member with the fake idol.
Yeah,
right?
he's like initially, like he is intentionally deceiving his, from what we see, possibly his number one ally in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, Will, is this a bad gameplay move? I mean, you think you would want to give that, like Danny.
Will said no.
Danny gave it to someone that he's like, cool, Maddie is just going to be a scapegoat here. We're just going to give him the fake idol, and then he literally turned everyone against him. Hey, did you hear he has it? Because he definitely has it, which was a brilliant move, but it's a whole nother move to give it to your number one ally. And
that don't make sense at all. I take that back.
It makes
now if they, I'm thinking we on the same path. If they think she has an idol, then never think he has an idol, and he could always save her, or she could save him. So it might be a twist in there.
So, I mean, the only reason why I think it's just a good move is because I think Survivor is just very volatile, right? I feel like anything can change on a dime. I'm not exactly where Abraham was going with this, but I'm glad that we can at least agree on the same thing.
So I'm blowing you out when I get on the show.
You say that, Abraham, but I've been getting ready. Anywho, so it's like I feel like Matthew is just playing the long game, right? Because Jamie is, a good ally to have. What's going to happen when they make the merge, right? Is Jamie always going to stick with Matthew? Because Jamie and Matthew might be tight right now, but will that last? Because they haven't really been like known as like this power duo, right? Like I would put more stock into Franny and the other Matt being close later on than Matthew and Jamie, if that makes sense.
I mean, like, also, Will, you said something about the first fake idol that we were talking about back in the birdcage one with Danny. Let's not forget, and Abraham's been out there, and so you are the expert. I have not, but these people, they're diehard Survivor fans. They get on this show. They want to play hard. They want to like make big moves, like just make good TV, right? That's why they put the fake idol back in the birdcage. That's why they put a fake idol at the water well and then leave people to them. It's like these people, they're sort of doing or trying to do the editing of the show on the go, if you know what I mean.
Great way to put it.
Whereas they're like, want to be the main characters and like, this is a cool move. Planting a fake idol and getting somebody to find it, that's making TV, right? So I can't blame them, as much as sometimes we're like, just throw it all away. Throw the key in the ocean and let the paranoia
I will defend that move.
But it's also a lot of fun to make a fake idol or plan a fake idol and do that.
I mean, Go ahead, Abraham.
There is no time that you as a player will ever be by yourself on Survivor. There will always be a film person there with you. And if they do something like that, like you said, that's great for TV. People want to see that because they're like, you know what? When I get on there, I can do that.
Yeah.
Or I can make that move. Now, so what you say, Randy, it may not seem like it syncs up, and they have to put a flashback in there because they're trying to pack. Think about it like this here. If it's 12 hours of daylight, there's 12 hours of filming. And they're trying to pack that in not just one day, 2 days into just an hour. Not to include commercials and everything else.
44 minutes, 42 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's not including tribal and challenges. So it's really what, like 25 minutes?
If you ask any Survivor show, what did they miss? It's so much stuff that happens, and it's so much fun that goes on that you think should be on TV because it shows you. It shows your personality, your character, or it shows how you got somewhere. But here's two things that I've noticed on this season that I didn't notice on my own season. One, I didn't see no worms. Nor was I looking for any. Two,
you didn't look in the right spot. You didn't look at that one mud spot.
Yeah, you didn't look at the mud.
I was all in the woods with the spiders, and I never saw a snake there. I don't know where that snake came from.
Oh, we saw the snake last week.
It was on a different. So we're not on the same islands. Every tribe is on a different island. So I don't know about in my season the other two islands and what they had on there, except for they had more food than we did. But I didn't see no snake.
Oh, so you're saying, Abraham, somebody's on Spider Island, somebody's on Snake Island, and somebody's on Worm Island.
Someone's on Papaya Island, actually.
We had killer birds on the island. That was an island. But the other tribe had spices and stuff on their island they could make up. And the other island had breadfruit and bananas. We was bananas.
Abraham stays being jealous on who had the better islands and stuff. But I will say the cast this season, they are providing a lot of entertainment. I mean, so far, just in this episode alone, we have Kane singing the national anthem. I mean, Skeets, you're originally from Canada.
I'm Canadian. I thought somehow you guys knew this was going to happen in this episode, and that's why you had me on to sing the Canadian anthem. I couldn't believe it.
We talked to Kane.
Man,
it worked out perfectly.
Hey, with Kane, I am reading into the edit, but holy moly, this guy's like a Dungeons and Dragons master for 4 years, and all Probst kept talking about this episode was gargoyles and we've talked about the set on our show being so Dungeons and Dragon-y like. I'm like, are they telling us Kane's going to go on and win this because he's Canadian and we've just had two of those with Marianne and Erica, and this guy's a Dungeons and Dragons master? Is it right in front of our faces?
He'd be the third straight Canadian winner because season 43 did not have a Canadian on the cast. So he'd be the third straight to go. It'd be back to back to back for Canadian players. I mean, Skeets, I know watching your show, you guys are extreme homers when it comes to cheering for. So are you a homer towards Kane because he is the only Canadian on the show?
That's a good one.
Yeah, the answer is yes. I always cheer for my Canadian brethren, but I will admit I don't do a lot of preseason, reading up on them and stuff like that. And it took me an episode in for my other co-host JD of No Buffs to say, he's Canadian, right? I was like, what? He's like, oh yeah, he's from Saskatchewan. I'm like, oh, that makes a little more sense. Why Kane is like Kane.
Before we hop back on the Survivor stuff, I have to ask this because of the whole Homer talk. I have to know, are you a Raptors fan or an Atlanta Hawks fan?
Oh, a Raptors fan. Are you kidding me?
Okay, you're still
Can't you see? Look at that towel behind me from the Raptors locker room when they won the championship.
What does that? What is that?
He lives.
Okay.
You're in Atlanta now, right?
Yeah, I'm a Canadian that's lived in Atlanta for a decade now. That's why.
And
here we go.
You go to a lot of Hawks games. I hear it all the time on the show, so that's why I was like, I'm moving to Atlanta this summer. And I've thought about it. I'm like, if I'm going to a lot of Atlanta Hawks games, more than Pacer games, I'm not going to rule out, I cheer for my hometown team.
Yeah.
But getting back to the Survivor side thing, I just had to ask that because I was curious.
Nice little tangent.
I just like Space Jam.
People listening right now, they're like, why are we talking basketball now? So no, I had to ask that. That was a fan moment for me. But anyway, so yes, they're providing a lot of entertainment because you have Kane who is singing the national anthem. We're getting camp life, and that's what people want, is we want to see camp life. We have Kane playing with the sword, and that's when he talks about he, always played Dungeons and Dragons and such. I thought this was hilarious. We saw Danny, when he went back to hide it, we saw him creeping behind the grass, which I totally get. But then he just did this ninja roll. And I was like, was that necessary? Or did
for TV it is.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. That was an exact hey, they're filming me. I'm gonna do a cool somersault. Even though it's gonna make me, more noticeable rolling around in the pathway there. Yeah.
Well, I want to know if that was Danny's idea or if the cameraman was just kind of like, hey,
no, they don't talk.
Do a roll. They don't talk.
They don't talk.
And we wasn't dirty, but the fire had so much smoke in it one day. I know it was killing them. I know, and I wasn't trying to stop it. So, but they can't talk to us at all. They can't
That makes
communicate
sense.
at all.
Well, so
Yeah.
that makes it even more fun. The fact that, like you said, Skeets.
No, well, I'll take this back. I'll take this back. They will
Ask
like
questions.
if you're walking. No, if you're walking too fast, because it's dangerous for them as well. They have somebody to protect them, the camera people, from falling, but it can get dangerous. Like they didn't want us to go to the rocks because it would be dangerous for them. And everything they always push was, if we can't film it, it never happened. We want to film everything.
Right.
So that's just a little behind the scenes.
Well, maybe Danny just rolled to avoid the cameraman.
Yeah, he was having fun. He was having fun.
Yeah.
He just decided to ninja roll. Well, let's get on to the Tika tribe here, because that's a tribe that we didn't get too much from this episode, but I do want to touch back on them because that's how they started the episode. Obviously, they were reeling from the Helen vote out. We kind of thought that tribal lines were kind of decided last episode, with Carson going over to work with Jam Jam and Carolyn and kind of leaving Sarah on the out. But actually, when they got back to camp, we saw that Carson was really wanting to fix that bond, that relationship, the trust he has with Sarah, and hoping to keep his options open. And that led Sarah to basically go, look, Carson's extremely dangerous. Like, we need to watch out for him. And that, the first question I want to bring up here is, do we think that would be possible for Carson to mend that bridge, especially after you completely go against someone like that? I mean, she was left on the out. So when he said that, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, there's no way she's going to go and work with you again. Not a chance.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I don't think Sarah has any options.
Yep.
But the issue is, I think the way Carson went about it was a little too gamey. I think Carson immediately went, Sarah, wasn't you. Let's just be friends again. Let's just call it good. I think, again, I say this every episode, but like, you got to understand how to like just read people in order to play Survivor well. Skates, I see you nodding your head. That makes me happy. That validates my feelings for the first time. And so I feel like that's the biggest problem. I think Carson could mend that bridge, but you can't do it by just convincing Sarah, here's why. And that's just something that you just learn later. Like, it just doesn't come instantly. And I think Carson tried to make it instant.
I would add to that, the fascinating part to me, and we didn't see it in the episode, is, does Carson think, boom, nailed it, got her back with me, she's good, I talked to her after tribal council, smooth that all over? Like, is he aware that he didn't nail it, because she turns around and tells us immediately, he's the most dangerous player in the game, I don't really trust him, which she actually even said to his face, which I was like, respect. You don't hear that all that often.
The guts,
And then she, like, to us in a confessional, she's like, I'm paraphrasing, but she definitely dropped cute little nerd. And I think that's a little bit of a code for bit of a game bot and obviously not trustworthy. And this guy's sort of good at this game of Survivor. But to spin it back to what you first said, Will, I don't think she has any other choices. I think she absolutely, to save her own ass, would work with him again. They only have 4 people on that tribe. I mean, if you look at the 4 people as well, I think her best option would be to possibly work with Carson, just because if you're, if you're basing it off of who's on that tribe, I obviously don't know. I wasn't out there at the time when they were playing, but Jam Jam and Carolyn seem locked in. Like, to me, it doesn't seem like there's any way to get in there, into that alliance. And if there was, I think it'd be Carolyn. Like, I was thinking about this. Who is Sarah's best option to work with on the Tika tribe? So we're going to be in disagreements here. So what's going to happen?
Go back to the previous tribal council where Jam Jam says, I understand Carol. And the thing about it is, some people you just automatically click with. You meet them and you click.
Like me and you.
And oh, definitely will. We vote Randy out. If we ever on the tribe together, Randy's ass is gone. But I mean, you just automatically click with him, and Jam Jam understands her. So that's going to be the one that's going to be the leading force. I look at Jam Jam going farther because he's already built that, and I think she's going to confide in him and tell him she has an idol. Carson is either going to overplay himself because he thinks he's been successful in blindsiding her. And you're right. That leaves room for, when you're down to 4 people, the voting, it's going to be pretty easy. So we already got 2 to get vote. The other two going to have to be either swing votes. So we're going to see who's the swing vote.
Oh, go ahead, Will.
No, you go ahead, Randy.
Oh, I was just going to say, I obviously was not here last week, but to add on to the Tika tribe, and like I said, we got hardly anything from them this episode. They just weren't the focus here. And yeah, exactly. What are we thinking about Carolyn's game so far? Because I was not here last week when all that happened. I love her. She's still a lot and a lot of energy. And even last week when we saw, kind of Carson tell her, I think I'm going to work with you guys. And she just fell to the floor and like it's a lot of energy. Do we think this is going to catch up? Like if you're someone like Carson, does it ever get to the point where you're like, okay, I got to make a decision. Say Tika goes back next week. I've got these two options. I could go with Sarah and maybe force a tie here, or I can stay with the 3-person alliance that I'm in right now. But to me, Carolyn is just a super risky player to work with. And if I'm deciding between Sarah and Carolyn, Sarah seems to me more reserved and seems like someone who could keep her energy in control. Say we get to like a super eventful vote or where, the numbers there's not that many numbers. That's just something to think about if I was Carson playing this game.
I'm going with Jam Jam. Let me tell you something. Jam Jam has somebody standing in front of him to get voted out first.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why would I want out?
A lot of I've heard it on a couple other podcasts. I'm pretty sure Rob said it. It's like Jam Jam on any other season of Survivor, any other tribe, he is the quirky, unique, himself character, the big sort of like takes up the screen, walks into a room, everybody like all eyes on him. And we even saw it tonight. He's walking down the beach. He's doing funny stuff. He's a character. He is an absolute character.
I love Jam
He doesn't
Jam.
even like come close to being to Carolyn's level on that.
When you're digging through baby poop for a tooth,
yeah,
come on, nobody. If you can beat that line that you dug through baby poop for 2 days to get your baby's tooth out, you win the game of Survivor.
That is so funny you say that, because wasn't one of like we saw it in the first episode. We get Jam Jam talking about how excited he is to take a poop in the ocean, and then Carolyn's like, I'm gonna go double, triple down. I'm digging through my kid's poop.
They also just announced that someone, I think it was Mike Bloom, just announced that episode 5 of this season is named something about poop.
The third turd.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
the third turd.
Wow.
Maybe this season should have been just named like Knights of the Turd Table or something, something like that. I think we've talked about a lot of the episode, and remind me if I've missed anything. Actually, real quick, I do want to bring up the challenge. This has been an ongoing topic as well. This is a challenge that we've seen before. Do we like the repeated challenges? Because we saw last week where Carson's like, I think it was last week where he said, I built the challenges at my home. I've got 3D models. Well, Matthew said he built it, and then Carson had 3D models. That
Carson, Carson didn't do a 3D model of this one because he was copying the other one that finished it.
Yeah, it was kind of like copy and paste. I was kind of hoping someone from Ratu would go over there and just like shove it over and be like, no, like exactly. They're just like watching it. I don't know. Maybe they were like, once you're done, take a step back and don't interfere. I don't know. But this is just something that I think production needs to look at, because if we have people practicing the challenges and then going out there and they already have it down, there's an argument. There's definitely an argument. Yes, it's like
here's the part you don't see. Here's the part you don't see. One, everything is so much more magnified when you're there.
Yeah.
So you got to concentrate. They've been there for 7 days. They haven't really had anything to eat. You're not sleeping 8 hours a night. You're uncomfortable. It's muggy. They got mosquitoes, ants. Now you got to go out and perform. That's the only thing I'll say for the challenges. It's not cut and dry where you work at home in AC and then get out there and perform.
Yeah, Abraham, yes, it is. We saw Evie, literally do the challenge, that ball challenge, in like split seconds. She said, I did that at home. And hold on. And this season, Matthew did the snake puzzle like it was nothing. He did it one try, had no issues with it.
Let's back up to the ball challenge. So here's why she was so good at the ball challenge. Technically, any one of the 18 that was on that season should have been good at the ball challenge because they gave us a little set to keep us busy because we was in quarantine for 2 weeks. So Anybody should have been good at
Wow,
the fundamentals
there you go.
of
Damn.
that particular challenge. That's why it seemed like it was so easy, because all we had to do is a little set of stuff to play with. So that one, I'm gonna say, if you understand it, yeah, that wasn't a hard one. If you were playing and you was the one putting it together, you should have got it.
Well,
And the Matthew one, the guy, hold on, the Matthew one last week, was that last week, right? Where he just dominated the snake?
Yes, last week, yes.
Like, the guy built it in his
He
backyard.
did build it. It wasn't like he just went online to survivorpuzzles.com and ordered it.
Yeah.
That does take a lot of props, because I don't see a lot of other super fans building the challenges.
Okay, let me take it to the basketball court for a second. That would be the equivalent. That would be the equivalent of, at all these games they do like half court shots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
If I trained my whole life just taking half court shots and I got better than the average person at it, that just steps up there and lets it go and comes up 20 feet short, that's me just like being prepared. That's life. It's like, well, I'm hoping one day to get on Survivor, I'm hoping one day to take a half court shot for $25,000. It's like, I just practiced that skill. To me, that's exactly what Matthew did. Because did he build the exact same snakes a maze?
Probably.
No, he built something similar to practice the whole thing. Yeah. So
well, like, are we a fan of them going the Ninja Warrior route, where it's like practice at home, get these same puzzles down, and then just try to be the best at it? Or do we want them to be more original with the challenges? Because it seems like this has been an ongoing theme for I agree. Mixture of both. Like, I would love to. I know some people disagree and they say that, leave it at a challenge that we see every so often, but like the challenge where the last breath, where you're under the grate, that's a challenge that I would love to see every year. I think it should be a Survivor staple. I think the Survivor auction needs to come back, and that needs to be something you do every single season.
So then you wouldn't be upset if somebody practiced that.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't really practice the auction. What are you going to do?
Well,
go to the store? $20.
I think he's talking the last gas. Like,
no,
you practice with your sink at home. You just put your head in it.
We do not encourage anyone to do that, by the way. That's a disclaimer that we
do not do that, please.
Do you know what 2 challenges I really want to see back? Both the final challenges in their seasons, but the season 10 Palau Buoy challenge, I think that's just a fan favorite.
Yep.
But the second one is more underrated. It's the maze at the end of Guatemala, I think.
I just finished.
It was shaped like a giant phoenix, and it was so cool, and it was like the coolest thing ever. Like stuff like that, where it's like, it's just a maze, but it looks like a cool maze,
Yeah, I would like to see a more physical, some physical interaction challenges, like in Australia's. They do more physical challenges where the tribes are competing physically against each other, just to break it up. I mean,
I will say though, I think with Australia, I said this before, but I think they get more food, and I think
they get more food.
They're just like more comfortable there. I mean, obviously it's still Survivor; they're still living. I'm not calling it like easier, but I think U.S. Survivor is a lot more physically demanding because of camp life. And so I think that's why they do easier challenges, because they don't want people dying,
Yeah, I did.
They check us out. We good. They don't care about that.
I did just finish Guatemala today. Skeets, just to fill you in. There's an argument that I am a fake Survivor fan just because.
Wow.
There's a blip of time. So I came into Survivor late. I didn't watch it from the get-go. So I started watching like season 22 and then on. So and I watched the first couple seasons, went back and watched those, but there was a blip of like season 4 to season 21 I had never seen. So I'm slowly watching through them. Yeah, and people argue it's some of the best seasons in that time. Like I've never seen
absolutely.
I've never seen US heroes versus villains. I've never.
Oh, so you're still playing catch up, you mean? There are seasons you've never seen yet. Oh, okay.
Exactly. So because I do so much with like movies and stuff like that. So I'm not as big as like just sit down and watch endless. So I just finished Guatemala. I started Panama Exile Island today. I got 2 episodes in. So it's happening. I am getting through it, and eventually I will become an official Survivor.
Do you know all the winners though?
Yes, I know every.
Okay, so you don't care. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So when I'm watching it, if my family comes in and they join me, it's kind of like I know who wins the season. I
Yeah,
can tell
yeah.
you right now. I just don't know how it plays out. So it's still exciting to watch. I
Oh,
can't.
it's
That's how I
very
was.
exciting.
I can't
I've watched
name,
basketball
like-
games that I know the final score sometimes, and it's like, whoa, how did we get to this? Like,
You
Exactly.
go back
I
and watch
don't-
like random basketball games from like 2011. Just like I want to see the game on August 23rd, 2011.
I mean, maybe
Bugs
not
Bunny
that
versus-
random, but I've definitely watched games that I've
Say that.
watched.
I mean, like,
Not
I don't
that
know.
random.
I don't know how we get there. I don't know the final two, obviously. I don't know some of the major events that happened.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's certain players, like I know Suri. I know she is possibly the greatest player to never win Survivor. I know who she is.
Right.
Do you
But
know
I-
Shane
I-
Powers?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but in terms of like seeing why she is known as,
Yeah.
the best player to never win, it's still exciting. The last point we are talking season 44 here.
Really?
We got
I thought we were talking
a
about season
huge
4.
tangent there about just Survivor. I'm sure people won't complain about it. The last thing I do want to say about season 44, it's kind of a fun question here, so it's a fun one to end on. We can go into the Matt and Franny topic a little bit more as well here. Is it too far gone, right? Are they to the point now there is nothing they can do? And it, by the looks of it, they're not going to try to do anything to break it up. Is there nothing they can do to end that kind of partnership, how everyone sees it? Is it just too far gone for them?
I don't think so at all. In fact, I said this a little bit earlier. I alluded to the fact that I was impressed with Franny and how she handled the vote, and like how like
Yeah.
she did really seem to control it a little bit more than I thought she would. I guess I was a little surprised. Matt, he might be screwed.
I think Matt's-
that dude's just in love.
He is.
Yeah.
I mean, plus you add on the fact he's the most unlucky, one of the most unlucky Survivor players thus far. He lost his 2 votes and found the fake idol.
Yeah, and he got the
Yeah.
dodo music, and I mean, there's a lot of things going on with him. Franny, no, because first off, I will not be shocked if she does make a calculated move and like cuts bait on her.
No.
Look,
I
He
see
already
it.
lost a dog, and now he's going to lose his Survivor. No.
I see it. Trey said it last week. The guy I do the show with,
Yeah.
he said, "I'm calling it now. Franny's gonna like break his heart and like make a calculated move to help her own game and get rid of him or cut him."
I mean, maybe. I think of the two, I think Matt's definitely going. I think Franny still has win equity. I think if they go to tribal council again, I think Matt goes straight up. He doesn't have a vote, has a fake idol. Like the only person he has that's 100% with him is Franny. Because I feel like we saw that Heidi is closer to Danny and Josh, and they just don't have anything to help vote out Josh if they want to vote out Josh again.
Now let's remember we're playing the game of Survivor,
True. So
and it's only
is
6
going
people on the tribe, and as you start to vote people out, you're going to use whatever method to protect yourself.
Mhm.
So if she can push him in front of the train, guess what? Train gonna get him.
Yeah.
He's
I mean-
gone.
I don't think Matt would be the one to vote out Franny though.
No,
No,
I
no.
sort of-
Oh, no, he's
that's-
not.
That's
He's
what I
not
was
gonna
saying.
put her.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Brothers
not
in
gonna vote her
love.
out.
He
but
is he is ultimate simp level right now. There's no way, but it's going to be.
he got that Randy Bruce love.
Oh my gosh! Don't even bring that up. Oh man. But anyway, so yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how that ends up. Couple super fun questions to wrap us up here for the episode before we start doing our outtakes and everything. So is this the most, and I mean this in a polite way, coming from a nerd myself, is this the season with the most nerds that we've ever had? Because you look at it, you could say Kane's a nerd. You could say Carson, Franny, Matt. There's 4 right off the bat there. That's just off the top of my head.
Will's got an answer.
So, and in terms of individuals who are nerds, yes, I will say you haven't seen Survivor Tocantins yet. I'm not going to spoil most of it, but there are players who call themselves Dragon Slayers and Wizards. Like it just feels like one big game of Dungeons and Dragons. When I feel like this season is just fans of D&D, you know. So I would say Survivor Tocantins is still like just the nerdiest season.
The super nerdiest.
It's so nerdy. It's
I mean,
good.
Does anyone disagree? Because I kind of, from what I've seen, it's a super nerdy season. You have the Knights theme and all that going on.
Yeah, I think I might disagree because being nerdy is not just being into D&D. It's like, I don't even know if Carson plays Dungeons and Dragons, but he's considered a nerd to most people because,
NASA,
glasses.
He's a NASA scientist.
Yeah,
as
because
well.
he's extremely smart and, I'm sure good at numbers and all that. And some people, equate that to being nerdy. But Matt and Franny, 100% nerds, and they agree as much. So does Carson. I think we might have the most. I'm like, so Token Sheen's Fishback, Coach.
Fishback and Coach, yeah.
I mean,
don't spoil it for me. No, I'm kidding.
I'm not. I mean, we're not. Just Fishback is the White Wizard. Coach is the Dragon Slayer.
Yeah. It's
just the people that are around,
But what's interesting is I met Carson in person. Carson doesn't come off as a nerdy guy. He just comes off as a college kid. Right. Like he's in college and whatnot. Because I didn't even know he worked for NASA because he didn't say anything about NASA. We were just talking about the game and their upcoming season. So he doesn't come off like that. Where the other two, they super nerds.
Oh yeah.
I would even say that. I would even say that maybe Carolyn's a little bit of a nerd, depending on your description of
quirky, not a nerd.
Quirky.
I would call her a nerd.
Like I said, it's all meant in love from a person who would consider themselves a nerd.
Right.
So,
and Randy, you asked something about her, and I meant to jump in about Carolyn, like sort of where she sits right now and moving forward, and like, is it too much? Is it going to like get her in trouble? Like this quirkiness and like she's so sincere and stuff. It's like, I'm not so sure because through 3 episodes, and we didn't get much this one, but those first 2 episodes, the first one being obviously a longer one, we were getting, the crazy facial reactions, like just like this joy that she's playing and just like she's so unique and all that. But we were also getting a bit of a slick game player. Like she's not oblivious to what's going on. In fact, she like picked up a couple times within her tribe and, they had Bruce going home and all that, but like, she's picked up a couple things and is like self-aware enough about how she is to other people. Remember, she had that whole scene about like, should I go and talk to them? Like they're not talking to me, but I don't want to come across too aggressive. Very self-aware. And, obviously has found an idol and like she's playing. And I think by all accounts, she's played like a lot of online Survivor too. So it's not like she's like, oh, what is this weird experiment game we're playing? Like, I think she's like, there's a lot more to her than just this incredible character that comes across on screen.
I definitely see the makings. And like, I keep seeing people who say, you guys are laughing now, but wait until Carolyn ends up getting the winners at it and ends up going all the way. And I could definitely see it, especially if she has someone like Jam Jam. Like now, I just don't see either of those two breaking apart. Like this season is shaping up to be a lot like the other New Era seasons where, in the past Survivor, we saw giant alliances kind of rule the game. You get in a big alliance and you kind of stampede your way to the end and then you start splitting up there. Then we got onto the voting blocks, which I wasn't the biggest fan of the voting blocks, where it's like you kind of shuffle around, you have groups of 4 and you just keep shuffling. Then I would say we went through the short era of, I call it scramble mode, where there were like no alliances and everyone was just going all over the place and you can't keep track of who's working with who or whatnot. Yeah. And now I think lately we've been seeing more of like a duo, like a duo type gameplay. I mean, we've seen it with Shannon Ricard, Jesse and Cody, where these duos just work together the entire game. And I mean, we've already seen a couple. Cassie and Carla. Yep. And we've already kind of seen it here with Franny and Matt. We've talked about it. Maybe Franny turns on him, but maybe not. And then we see another duo here with Jam Jam and Carolyn. So it's going to be interesting. I think if Jam Jam stays with Carolyn, I do think they could go very far. And I mean, Carolyn could definitely have like a season like Marianne. I've put it out there. I love Marianne. Didn't like her as a winner just because I felt like she was a type of player where no one wanted to vote her out because no one wanted to be that person to vote out the super nice, quirky girl. No one wanted
I'd
to.
have voted out Marianne and the whole family.
Well, you were in that
That's
position,
why,
but
Brother,
Nah,
you
see,
just saw
dude.
Panama. You saw what happened with Tina, where she had like the saddest Survivor story,
Yeah.
and then everyone voted her out episode one.
but that's
Yeah.
old Survivor. I'm just saying I could see Carolyn making that run where it's like no one wants to make that move. They're like, oh, we love Carolyn. She's so nice to have around camp, and then she could make a late run here and win the game.
She could. I think
Yeah.
I think what's going to do Carolyn in, I'm calling my shot on this one, is that
Shot in the
that
dark.
woman, I bet, is extremely trusting in the sense that, like Carson, for example, Carson went to her side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I'm just like, maybe I just feel like this is just the way she is, the way she's lived her life. And it's a beautiful, I think, trait to have. Carson is with me. That's like, that meant a lot. That is like, she's like, they've slipped in a couple things like about like, almost like he's not a son, but obviously age difference and all that.
Yeah.
That I am fearful that Carson, as the game bot, will cut her in a heartbeat. And that is going to be, she's never going to see it coming. I think she's going to be
I think Jam Jam is the balance. I agree with you 100% on that, but I think Jam Jam is the balance to her.
I like that.
So
I think
if he's the balance to her, Carson can't do it.
Okay.
I
like that.
think-
Oh, that's good.
I think Carolyn honestly is just going to like fall backwards into a losing finals. I think she's going to get second. I think she's going to get a few votes because she is super likable. She has a lot of energy, but I think honestly she's just way too trusting, and I feel like Jam Jam is going to just play a more active game.
Yeah.
And then whatever
That's it.
allies that she makes. And so I feel like people would respect her social game and just respect who Carolyn is, but I don't think she has 100% the makings to be a winner. Because I think with Marianne, at least whenever we saw her being quirky and goofy and just like having fun, she did a 180 and talked about how it benefits her game, and she made sure to like talk about her game and her strategy. And I feel like with Carolyn, we don't get it as much, and I feel like there's still just a few holes in her game. And I still think she plays a little messy again with the birdcage. Like I feel like that might signify like she might play a little messy, but still get far enough to get second.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I still
Even
love
with the messiness, of the birdcage, nobody pointed the finger at her.
Yeah. No, and it was shocking.
I don't know how.
Before I lose my voice here, because if you guys have seen me coughing, if you're watching on the YouTube stream right now, I went to Atlanta for 1 week. I think the differential of weather got me because it was there's
nice.
flowers down there, full springtime. I
pollen
feel like
season, baby.
Exactly. And Indiana still can't decide whether it wants to be 20 degrees or 40 degrees. And I came back with a very, very bad cold. I got cough drops, tissues down here. So I have a little beef with you, Skeets, and you're Atlanta right now. But no, so it was still beautiful and everything. But if you guys want to start leaving us questions, go to our Instagram or Twitter at Survivor Now Podcast and leave us questions right after the episode airs. And we might get to a couple. I have 2 questions here for our guest today. Skeets, people were excited to hear you, man. A lot of people love your show. I just got to put it out there.
Good to hear.
But longtime fan, Sam, first question. Who is the LeBron James of Survivor? And this is going to cause some debate because is it the best player or the second best player? In my mind, it's the best player. So in your opinion, who is the LeBron James of Survivor?
The LeBron James of Survivor, it's Tony. It's Tony.
I agree.
I don't think we need to overthink it. And it almost works well because, like you just said, I say Tony as LeBron, and then some people will go, well, hold on. I think that means Sandra's MJ, I guess.
And then some people would say Boston Rob, and they'd just be wrong. Like bring in who would you say? Would that be like Hakeem? Like no,
Boston Rob? No, Boston Rob would be more like
Daddy Pippen.
like I was gonna say like Vince Carter actually, or something like someone a super long career, had like
so many high highs but very low lows.
Yes, I think Vince Carter for Boston Rob actually works.
I don't know basketball. Like again, I just know Space Jam as my only source of basketball. I've been making Space Jam jokes all day. So I'll just agree with all y'all what y'all said.
The one non-basketball. Okay, but yes, I like that analogy because I would say that Tony is the best player to ever play the game.
Yeah.
A lot of people would look at
actually
Sandra. A lot of people would look at Sandra and have that argument, and it kind of fits the LeBron James and Michael Jordan argument perfectly because you say, okay, look at how many times Sandra's played. Look at how she played. She is the OG GOAT to say. And I could also make the argument that she won twice, but then hasn't made it past day 16 in any of her other seasons. So like where Tony played 3 times, yes, he was the first one eliminated, but then he won the other 2 times. And I think just outright played a better game. And you have the whole, well, it was a new era. He wouldn't have made it in the Sandra era. So it fits perfectly with the LeBron James and Michael Jordan.
It turns out debating about who's the greatest Survivor player is a lot like debating who's the greatest
who's the best
player. It's a bunch of like whatever you want it to be is what it is.
Exactly. And the second question is more of a personal question. When is Skeets going to apply for Survivor?
Well, I know I got super pumped when, the Canadians were being selected. Okay, the answer is very soon because I've hit now, I think, a perfect age to be like, oh my God, it sounds sad to say out loud, but to be one of the older people on the season. Right? I'm 43 years old. Like that would be...
That's old now?
That's old. Look at this cast. Have you seen how young this cast is?
Super young cast.
I think Bruce is the oldest.
Yeah, Bruce was the oldest.
Why is Bruce the oldest?
Or maybe is Heidi also 43? I think there might be
I think Heidi's up there in age. Yeah.
Oh, no,
okay. My point is, me being on Survivor, I would probably be one of the oldest. I don't feel old at all.
But
so
you don't look like you don't have that old look, and like you play basketball, don't you? A little bit.
I run marathons. I'm fairly fit. Like I think this is my time. This is what I'm getting at. Okay. This is my time. Canadians dominating.
Will, when you see him on there, vote him out.
Who's the most likely from the No Buffs crew to get on the or not the most likely, but who's going to be on there first?
Trey has a unique look. He's a 6'5", big bearded, stoner, basically. So he would be a good character, though we have had a lot of debates about who would do better. Trey thinks it would be him. I think it would be me. JD thinks it would be me. That upset Trey. Trey gets very hangry, and I can deal well with being hungry, and he does not. So I think that would get him in trouble.
I am going to throw my hat into things because I've seen the show a lot, like I said. I'm going to say you. That's not because you're here. I think you both could do well. My concern with Trey is he's going to be a big guy. He's going to be one of the bigger guys on the tribe and could easily be looked at as like a challenge threat.
Yeah.
And that where I think you could fit in more with the crowd to say.
Yeah, that's
like
that's what I think. That's
JD would be amazing because I feel like he would just say whatever's on his mind and be like, guys, why are we doing this? This is so stupid. Like
JD would have the best confessionals hands down. Like he would be a hit.
But the right answer,
everyone, yeah.
But the right answer is Taz is going to be the first one to go on. That's the right. That's the right answer. But before we wrap up here, I got some stuff that I have to get out of the way. So again, if you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We really do appreciate all your guys' support. And then if you're watching on Spotify or listening, if you're listening on Spotify, make sure to give us a rating. We would appreciate that as well. Go hit us up on Instagram and Twitter. On Instagram, it's at Survivor Now Podcast. On Twitter, it's at Survivor Now Pod. Skeets, tell us about the show for people who haven't tuned in. Both No Dunks and No Buffs. How'd you get into No Buffs as well? If you wanted to throw a quick little thing in there.
Okay. So No Dunks is our basketball podcast Monday through Friday. If you are a diehard or a casual basketball fan, I think you'd really like our show. We talk about the games and the big storylines and have a lot of fun. We've been podcasting for 17 years now, a daily NBA show. Jeez. So it's quite a while. Different iterations of the show. But check out No Dunks. And then No Buffs, we basically, JD, who is our producer of No Dunks, Trey, who's a co-host of mine on No Dunks. We've been Survivor fans for a long time. We would come in, obviously, every Thursday morning, and we are talking like 20 minutes before our actual basketball show about the episode, about, can you believe this, about what's going to happen? And we were like, during, sort of the pandemic, they were like, why don't we just do a Survivor show and see if anybody listens? Even though we listen to a lot of other great ones.
Yeah.
Not that the world needed another Survivor podcast, but hey, why not? And we have, a little loyal following now, and we just really enjoy it. So yeah, No Buffs has its own podcast feed, has its own YouTube feed. So just search for No Buffs Survivor and you'll find us. And we go live every Thursday, basically 1 p.m. So the day after the episode airs, and we have some guests coming on. We've had Wendell on, we've had Rick Devens on, and we have Owen coming on from Survivor 43 pretty soon. And well, we're gonna have to have Abraham on here in the coming weeks. I would hope if you.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah.
I finally arrived, man. I've been working hard to get up there.
Thanks, Abe.
Yeah,
I definitely recommend checking it out. I mean, I
Yeah.
can speak on it. They do an incredible job. It is super fun to watch and listen to. You're a busy man. The last thing I wanted to say about it, don't you do no breaks as well? This is coming from a racing fan. So
no breaks.
God,
Trey was
What-
doing.
he does a lot. He does
It was
a lot.
an F1 podcast. They are taking a break. It was Graydon and Trey mainly. I would jump on it sometimes, but they're taking a break from that because they just keep adding races, and it was becoming a lot. But we do have a baseball podcast that Tass does once a week called No Bunts. So seek that out. That's on the Athletic baseball show. And we also have a weird series that we're re-releasing where we watched every Fast and Furious movie called Fast Friends. And
I've heard about this. Yeah.
And we've had a lot of fun with that because I never watched it. And then I watched all of them and we podcasted about each one. So we do. Yes, we podcast a lot. I've podcasted over almost 4,000 episodes.
Yeah, this man, that's why I was nervous tonight. Cause I'm like, man, he's going to be like, whoo, I have to bring my A.
You guys are killing it. I love it. I love the energy. I love the back and forth.
Thank you, man. Well, if you guys do want to check out the No Dunks or the No Buffs podcast, both links will be in the description below, both on Spotify and YouTube. So make sure to get over there, subscribe to them, like their videos, and definitely support their channel as well. We also have some guests coming up that I have to talk about here. I can't remember if Skeets talked about it before we went on air or before or after we went on air here. But anyways, next week, whatever day that is, May 22nd. I don't know if I will
March.
March. Did I say May? Thank you for the correction. I should have had this pulled up and ready. March 22nd. I do not know if I'm going to be here because Fairplay and Sandra are having a party in Cincinnati. That is super close to me as I'm in Indiana here. So I might be at that. It's to be determined. But even if whether I'm here or not, we are going to have the winner of season 43, Mike Gabler, join the show to break down Survivor 44 episode 4. And then in 2 weeks time, I believe. Yeah, see, it's getting tough to dates. Anyway, April 5th, it's not in 2 weeks, but April 5th, we are going to have Sammy on from season 43 as well. And then we are also in talks currently to get James on, Philly James from season 43 as well to come on the podcast. So that date is to be determined.
We will round it up with Mary Ann.
I forgot. I knew I was forgetting someone. Did she?
As soon as we lock in a date, we'll bring Mary Ann on. I talked to her when I was in Canada.
Whoa!
At the premiere party, she said she would come on. I just gotta get her for a date. That's all.
Did you go to Wendell's party? Wendell and Bryce's party?
Oh. Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, look, I'm gonna give when we finish up, I'm gonna give you a special shout out for Canada.
Oh,
I mean, Skeets, they're coming to Atlanta. Definitely, if you guys get a chance to go to a Bryce and Wendell party, definitely. That I can't remember when, but are you gonna be at the Atlanta one?
April 5th.
Yeah, we got to make it.
Is it 21 or over?
A weird little fact.
Yes.
Wendell, our guy, he built our table. The table that we sit at every day in the Classic Factory, as we call it, our studio, where we pump out all these podcasts. Wendell and his company built our table and then installed it. Little known fact.
I'm so jealous. You guys got a studio and everything over there. I'm jealous about
a Wendell table.
Yeah.
It's a winning table. It smells like winning. It smells like $1 million. And I hope there's an idol. I keep joking there's an idol located in the table somewhere.
That would be so cool if you did that.
I mean, there was an idol and a fish. So
that's right.
You never know. Abraham, Will, before we wrap up here, anything else you guys want to say?
So, Skeets, I have one question for you I thought about. I know you don't really know me. I don't know how well you know Randy, but between the two of us, who do you think would do better on Survivor? Because I think we're both
throwing him on the spot.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I know you equally from hanging out on this this podcast for the last hour and a half, so that's fair. I'm gonna go Will.
Let's go.
I'm gonna go Will. Now, here's why. Randy, like myself, when I host my podcast, we might get ourselves into trouble. We talk a lot. Talk a lot. You know, that can be a good trait for sure. Bit of a natural leader. You're leading the show, but do we like the sound of our own voice a little too much at times? Ooh, that irritates
I don't
me.
know how to feel about this. This is
I'm
Skeets'
just
way
saying,
to
look.
say that I can
Your
see you
own
going
hero,
back to the
Randy.
guys now, and he's going to be like, yo, the show was fun, but Randy talks way too
No,
much.
no,
And I've
no,
got that
see,
before.
now you're getting in your head. You're getting in
Yep.
your head. I'm back in Will.
I just
anything else,
changed my
Abraham?
I just changed my backgrounds to different stuff for myself. Randy has all the talking parts. I may say 5 or 6. I mean, I'm thoroughly enjoying season 44.
Yep.
There are a lot of things that, coming from season 41 and looking at the growth in the show. I wasn't sold on 41 because, we got thrown in it, but I do really love the way it's just kind of progressing forward. We're seeing the changes, and it's a lot of the stuff is starting to work, starting to click. Don't really care about the six on tribes. I wish it was bigger tribes. Just to give the audience a chance to develop a relationship with the characters. Didn't want to see Claire gone tonight because this season, Randy and myself, we know a lot of the players from this season, and it's different when you've met them and you know them and you're cheering for them. Josh is in Atlanta. Met him, great guy. Cheering, he's my winner pick. So it's a little different this season here, but great season, man. Just great material to come here and talk about and kick around about Survivor.
I mean, well said. And yeah, when you see someone that you've met, it's tough. I'm going to send her a message right after this, and I'm going to be like, I'm so sad. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll leave you at this, and you guys will understand this if you go check out the No Buffs podcast, which will be airing tomorrow on the No Buffs YouTube channel and on Spotify as well. So make sure to do that. But someone just posted on Twitter, light the candle. And Skeets will know what that means, and we'll talk about it between us when we go off air here. But thank you so much for watching. Skeets, thank you. You're always welcome on the show, man. We would
Appreciate
love
it.
to have you back here. And enjoy the rest of your night, guys, or whenever you're watching this. We'll catch you next week.